and an ideal place for recovery. In the summer of 1922, the loan of a small cottage in the Ojai Valley brought the young men to America for the first time. Writing to Mrs. Besant, Nietzsche described their new surroundings. In a long, narrow valley of apricot orchards and orange groves is our home, and the hot sun shines day after day to remind us of Adyar. The Indians call our valley the Ojai, or the nest, and for centuries they must have sought it as a refuge. For a time, Nietzsche seemed to recover, but perhaps best of all, they were alone. Privacy had been a luxury denied them since childhood, but now in the silence of the valley, Krishnamurti had an opportunity to be with himself. He walked alone in the hills, climbing through orange groves and scrub brush. As the days passed, a strange uneasiness seized him. He became ill and complained of intense pain and suffocating heat. There were periods of unconsciousness as the strange process reached its peak. Agitated and feverish, he insisted on walking alone, but was urged instead to rest under a young pepper tree that stood near the cottage. It was there, in the stillness of the night, that a transcendent event took place that shook his life to its foundations.
I could feel the wind passing through the trees and the little ant on the blade of grass. I could feel the birds, the dust, and every noise was a part of me. I was in everything, or rather everything was in me. I was supremely happy, for I had seen. Nothing could ever be the same. I have drunk at the clear and pure waters of the fountain of life, and my thirst was appeased. Never more could I be thirsty. Never more could I be in utter darkness. I have touched the compassion which heals all sorrow and suffering. It is not for myself, but for the world.
To describe his new perceptions, Krishnamurti embarked on a worldwide speaking tour. The change was unmistakable.
Everywhere, among all people, there is a search for something hidden, for some realization which will give greater knowledge, greater vision, greater understanding, and this the people call truth. They think that truth lies hidden in some distant place, away from life, away from joy, away from sorrow. But truth is life itself. And with an understanding of life, there is born an understanding of truth.
While traveling, a sudden hemorrhage brought back fears for Nietzsche's health. He was weak, in high fever, and racked with coughing. It was decided that the brothers should again return to the dry climate of the Ojai Valley. Once in California, Nietzsche seemed to improve, and when Mrs. Besant cabled asking that Krishnamurti come to India for Theosophy's Jubilee Convention, he reluctantly agreed. The bond between the brothers had grown stronger than ever. There was unquestioning faith that Nietzsche was essential to the work ahead, and because of this, his life would be spared. While en route, a cable arrived saying that Nietzsche had influenza. A later wire read, "Flu rather more serious. Pray for me." On the 13th of November, as the ship entered the Suez Canal, a telegram arrived announcing Nietzsche's death. The news broke Krishnamurti completely. It did more. His entire philosophy of life, the implicit faith in the future, and Nietzsche's vital part in it all, appeared to be shattered at that moment.
An old dream is dead, and a new one is being born. A new vision is coming into being, and a new consciousness is being unfolded. I know now with greater certainty than ever before that there is real beauty in life, real happiness that cannot be shattered by any physical happening, a great strength which cannot be weakened by any passing events, and a great love which is permanent, imperishable, and unconquerable.
By the time he reached Madras, his face was quiet and radiant. The Jubilee Convention of 1925 celebrated 50 years in the life of the Theosophical Society. Thousands attended the 4-day gatherings, and events were eagerly reported by newspapers around the world. A Star Congress followed the convention. By this time, the Order of the Star had grown to over 45,000 members. Under the branches of Adya's enormous banyan tree, Krishnamurti spoke of the world teacher. His face was powerful and stern in the twilight, his eyes half veiled as if looking inward. As he spoke, a deep silence spread through the audience. Some felt they saw a light envelop him, and many believed they were in the presence of the Messiah himself. The young man was becoming the focus of deep divisions. While thousands accepted him as the world teacher, others were disturbed by the adoration and attention given him. In the Netherlands, some years earlier, the Baron Philip van Pallandt had given his ancestral home, the Castle Erde, to the Order of the Star. 5,000 wooded acres surrounded the 18th century buildings. The castle had been transformed into a meeting place where small groups gathered yearly. The change that was taking place in Krishnamurti was to intensify the following week at the Omen Star Camp of 1926. Close to the Castle Erde, the Omen camp attracted over 2,000 people of every nationality. There were huge tents for meetings and for meals. Lectures were given, and every evening Krishnamurti lit a bonfire and spoke to the gathering.
In order to be happy, need we have religions? In order to love, need we build temples? Truth cannot be found in the dark sanctuary of temples, nor in the well-lit halls of organized societies. Neither can it be found in books, nor in ceremonies. Go down to the sea where the breezes are blowing and the waves are breaking over each other. You want to gather and bind all that beauty into a narrow temple. Do not allow your mind or your heart to be bound by anything or anyone. If you do, you will establish another religion, another temple. You must not create little gods and worship at little shrines. Who wants to worship by the light of one candle when you can have the sun?